Pretend to be my boyfriend just for 5 minutes. The poor girl begged the millionaire CEO right in front of her ex, but he added a secret clause that left her pulse racing. Penelope Morris had exactly 11 heartbeats left before she shattered every rule of survival she'd ever written for herself. The Grand Mirador ballroom shimmered like a vault of liquid gold, chandeliers dripping crystal tears worth more than her mother's house. Black and white marble floors polished to a cruel mirror sheen that reflected every scuff on her borrowed shoes. The air tasted of orchids and old money, the kind that could buy silence, futures, or entire zip codes without blinking. She wasn't on a guest list. The navy gown, deep midnight silk, borrowed from a co-worker who'd upgraded to Paris, clung to her like a dare. A loose thread at the hip threatened to unravel with every breath. The Macy's tag still scratched her skin like a guilty confession. Her event assistant badge? Swiped from the staff rack, name scratched out with a ballpoint pen. One wrong glance from security, and she'd be escorted out past the velvet ropes. Portfolio clutched like a ransom note. None of that mattered now, because Jaden Wilson was gliding across the floor, arm looped through Laura Bennett. The influencer whose follower count could fund a small nation and whose smile could slice glass. Jaden's tailored suit screamed new money. Lara's emerald gown screamed I win. He spotted Penelope, that slow, predatory grin unfurled. The same one he'd used when he texted, "You're creative, Penny, but creativity doesn't pay rent. I need a partner, not a project." 3 weeks later, he'd proposed to Laura on a yacht. 20 feet. 15. Lara's lips parted in that syrupy, pitying coo. Penelope, sweetie. Option A. Fake a seizure. Too theatrical. She'd wake up owing the hotel for the ambulance. Option B. Bolt for the terrace. Too obvious. Laura would live-stream the sprint. Option C. Pray for spontaneous combustion. Still not in her skill set. That's when she saw him. Before we continue this thrilling story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and comment where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now, let's get into the story. In the shadowed alcove beneath a gilded arch, leaning against a marble column like a king who'd grown bored of his throne, Oscar Graham, though she didn't know the name yet. 6'3", maybe 6'4", shoulders filling a black tux with the quiet menace of a storm cloud. Hair the color of midnight oil, swept back with ruthless precision. A jawline sharp enough to sign contracts. Eyes the gray of winter steel, scanning the room with the detached interest of a man who owned everything in it and still found it lacking. 2 bodyguards in midnight suits flanked him at parade rest distance, earpieces glinting like threats. He held a single flute of champagne, untouched, as if even the bubbles annoyed him. Perfect. Jaden was 10 feet away. 8. Lara's perfume, oud and victory, hit like a slap. Penelope didn't think. She moved. Heels, secondhand, one size too big, band-aids peeling, click, 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 click across the marble like gunfire. Head swiveled. A waiter nearly dropped a tray of caviar blinis. The bodyguards shifted, hands rising. She slipped between them like smoke, seized Oscar's forearm, warm, solid, expensive wool over steel, and declared to the frozen ballroom, "Babe, there you are. I was starting to think you'd stood me up." 300 elite throats swallowed in unison. Crystals ceased tinkling. Even the string quartet missed a beat. Oscar's gaze dropped to her, slow, surgical. He cataloged the trembling fingers on his sleeve, the navy gown catching chandelier light like deep ocean, the raw plea flickering behind her eyes. 1 second. 2. A bead of sweat traced her spine. The taller bodyguard stepped forward, palm already reaching. Oscar lifted 2 fingers, barely a motion. The guard froze mid-stride, puppet strings cut. A ghost of a smile curved Oscar's mouth, lethal and amused. In a voice like velvet dragged over gravel, he answered, "Never, love. Traffic was murder." Then, God help her. He slid his arm around her waist, palm settling low and possessive, thumb brushing the bare skin above her gown's neckline. The contact burned through silk and lies. The ballroom detonated into whispers. That's Oscar Graham. Graham? As in a Graham? He hasn't brought a date in years. Jaden's face drained to the color of cheap printer paper. Lara's smile calcified. Penelope's brain blue-screened. Oscar Graham, owner of the hotel, CEO of half the skyline. The man whose signature could bankrupt Jaden's entire firm with a pen stroke. She just hijacked a billionaire. Oscar leaned in, lips grazing the shell of her ear, breath warm with champagne and danger. 5 minutes, he murmured, so low only she could hear. But there's a clause, sweetheart. Break character, and I'll make sure everyone in this room knows exactly who you aren't. Her pulse stuttered. The lie had teeth now, and the night had only just begun. Oscar's grip tightened, just enough to remind her the marble beneath her feet was his marble. Across the ballroom, Jaden's mouth opened, closed, opened again, like a goldfish discovering oxygen was optional. Penelope swallowed the metallic taste of panic and forced her lips into the smile she'd practiced in cracked mirrors above gas station sinks. 5 minutes. Survive 5 minutes. But as Oscar guided her deeper into the glittering gauntlet, portfolio still clutched like a shield, she felt the first thread at her hip give way with a soft, treacherous rip. The worn leather folder in her left hand suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. Inside, 12 hand-drawn branding concepts she'd poured 3 sleepless months into, the ones she'd shown Jaden in confidence while he nodded and said, "Cute, Penny. Really cute." The same concepts his firm had pitched to investors last quarter, without her name anywhere. She'd come tonight to slip the folder to Evelyn Cross, the creative director rumored to be scouting fresh talent. One shot to escape the cycle of ramen dinners and maxed-out credit cards. One shot to prove her ideas were worth more than Jaden's dismissive laugh. Now she was tethered to the one man who could either crown her or crush her. Oscar's thumb traced a slow circle at the base of her spine, reassuring to onlookers, warning to her. "Smile wider," he said under his breath, steering her past a cluster of diamond-drenched heiresses. "They're photographing your left side. The rips showing." Heat flooded her cheeks. Of course he'd noticed. Jaden recovered first, stepping forward with the swagger of a man who still believed charm was currency. "Penelope," he called, voice pitched for the crowd. "Didn't expect you here. Working the event again." The dig landed like a slap. Laughter rippled outward, champagne glasses chiming like tiny bells of cruelty. Lara's emerald nails dug into Jaden's arm as she added, loud enough for 3 tables, "At least she's wearing something different." Penelope's fingers tightened on the portfolio until the leather creaked. She opened her mouth. Oscar's arm slid fully around her, pulling her flush against his side. The heat of him seared through the thin silk. "Actually," he said, voice carrying without effort, "she's here with me." Jaden blinked. Lara's smile faltered. Oscar tilted his head, studying Jaden the way a lion studies a gazelle that's wandered too close to the pride. "Wilson, isn't it? Your firm submitted a rebranding package last month. Bold choices." His tone made bold sound like reckless. Jaden's grin wavered. "Yes, sir. We're proud of." "Interesting," Oscar cut in smoothly. "Because the color palette looks familiar." His gaze flicked to Penelope, something unreadable flashing in the steel depths. Almost like someone else's work. The air between them crackled. Penelope's heart slammed against her ribs. He knew. Somehow impossibly he knew. Jaden laughed, but it came out strangled. "Coincidence, I'm sure. Penny's always been imaginative." Imaginative. The word he'd used when he'd borrowed her sketches and told her no one would believe a broke assistant over a rising star. Oscar's fingers pressed once, firm, grounding against her waist. "Imagination," he repeated, savoring the word. "The kind that builds empires, or topples them." A waiter passed with a tray of flutes. Oscar plucked two, handed one to Penelope without looking. "Drink," he murmured. "You're shaking." She obeyed, the bubbles sharp on her tongue. Across the rim, she watched Jaden's composure fracture. Lara tugged at his sleeve, whispering furiously. Oscar leaned close again, lips barely moving. For minutes left. Then we discussed terms. Terms. The clause. Her stomach pitched. But beneath the fear, something else stirred. Something dangerous and bright. For the first time in months, Jaden wasn't the one holding the power. The quartet struck up a new waltz. Couples drifted toward the floor. Oscar set his glass on a passing tray and extended a hand. "Dance with me." It wasn't a request. Penelope stared at the offered palm, broad, elegant, the faint scar across one knuckle catching the light. If she took it, there was no going back. The lie would deepen. The claws would bind her. Jaden's eyes burned into her back. Lara's camera phone was already rising. She slipped her fingers into Oscar's. His grip closed, warm, unbreakable. As he led her toward the center of the floor, chandeliers blazing overhead like a constellation of judgments, Penelope realized the rip in her dress had stopped matching. The lie was no longer hers alone to carry. And salvation, it turned out, wore a bespoke tux and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Penelope's laugh lingered in the night air, bright and unguarded, a spark against the city's glow. Oscar's eyes softened, just a fraction, before he turned to lean against the balcony rail beside her. The music inside was a distant hum now, the applause a memory. She hugged her arms, the navy gown catching the breeze. "5 minutes are up, Mr. Graham." Clause fulfilled. He chuckled, low and warm. "Call me Oscar." And we're not done. Inside, the ballroom still buzzed, but out here, the world felt smaller. Two silhouettes against the skyline. Penelope's pulse slowed, the weight of the night settling. She glanced at him, sleeves rolled, tie loosened, the untouchable so suddenly human. Back to the beginning, then, where the lie took root. The waltz had barely ended when Oscar's security twitched, hands rising like drawn blades. He lifted one finger, subtle, absolute, and they froze. His palms slid to Penelope's, warm and commanding, guiding her through the parting crowd. "Everyone," he said, voice mild but carrying like a gavel. "This is Penelope. I don't go anywhere without her." Cameras flashed. Whispers erupted. Asterisk, who is she? Where's she come from? Asterisk. Jaden stood by the bar, Lara's nails digging into his arm. An investor leaned in, murmuring, "That's Oscar Graham, the hotel's owner." Jaden's champagne sloshed. His face went ashen. Penelope's heart stalled. Owner. The chandeliers, the marble, the very oxygen. She'd grabbed the man who owned it all. Oscar's lips brushed her ear, breath hot with danger. 30 seconds. Why shouldn't I have you thrown out? Her throat locked. My ex, he was mocking me. I panicked. Needed an exit. His mouth twitched, amused. You owe me 5 minutes. Play along. She nodded, pulse hammering. His arms circled her waist, steering her past diamond-crusted stairs. She lifted her chin, forcing the smile she'd practiced in cracked mirrors. Jaden's glare burned. Lara whispered furiously. But inside Penelope, something stirred, pride, small but fierce, flickering alive. Oscar's thumb grazed her spine. Good. Keep it up. The lie was a tightrope, but she walked it, beside the most powerful man in the room, no longer invisible. The orchestra eased into a slow waltz, violins curling like smoke. Oscar released her waist only to pivot, palm open in invitation. Dance with me. Convince them. Penelope's refusal hovered, until Jaden and Lara glided past, his hand possessive on emerald silk, her laugh a silver knife. Pride flared. She slipped trembling fingers into Oscar's. He drew her in, one hand low on her spine, the other cradling hers like something precious. Left foot back, shoulders down. His voice was a thread against her ear, steadying. First step, she faltered, heel catching. His grip absorbed the stumble, guiding. Second step, another wobble, borrowed shoes betraying her. You're trying too hard to survive, he murmured, breath warm. Let me lead. She exhaled, tension melting. The ballroom blurred. Chandeliers streaked gold, faces watercolor. His thigh brushed hers, dictating rhythm. Her body learned in his pulse. Their eyes locked, storm gray meeting desperate brown, and the lie shimmered, suddenly real enough to taste. Across the floor, Jaden's jaw clenched. Whispers slithered. Oscar Graham never dances. Lara's giggle cracked too loud. Oscar answered with a deliberate spin, twirling Penelope beneath the central spotlight. Midnight silk flared, catching light like deep ocean waves. She's stunning, an heiress breathed. Phones rose. The narrative flipped in a heartbeat. Penelope felt it. Pitying stares turned envious. She wasn't the girl in the borrowed gown anymore. She was the woman with Oscar Graham. His mouth grazed her temple. 2 minutes left, love. Make them believe. She did. She did. The final notes of the waltz dissolved into polite applause. Oscar's hand lingered at Penelope's waist as he guided her off the floor, the crowd parting like silk before a blade. The air shifted. Curiosity sharpened into hunger. Guests swarmed, silk sleeves brushing, diamond cuffs flashing, questions honed like stilettos. How did you two meet? Paris? Milano? What's your secret, darling? Penelope's mind blanked. Words tangled. We, met at a charity auction. Oscar's voice cut through, smooth as aged whiskey. She's a designer, brilliant with details. His thumb traced a subtle circle at her hip, anchoring her. Jaden hovered at the edge, Lara's nails digging crescents into his arm. He snorted, loud enough to carry. Designer? She's an assistant at best. Lara's titter followed, champagne bright and cruel. An elegant silver-haired woman turned. Evelyn Cross, chair of Lux Vista, her pearls glowing under the chandeliers. Design. Her gaze pinned Penelope like a butterfly. We're scouting a new creative partner. Portfolio. Penelope's heart vaulted. Yes, clutched all night, leather worn soft from nervous fingers. Before she could speak, Oscar's security leaned in, murmuring low. His face iced over, jaw tightening to granite. He bent her ear, breath a dangerous whisper. Jaden's firm pitched me last month. Guess whose sketches starred? Penelope blinked. Mine. It's your work. His eyes narrowed to winter steel. Stolen. Blood drained from her face. The ballroom tilted, chandeliers spinning. Jaden's smirk faltered across the crowd. Lara whispered furiously behind her flute. Oscar's grip tightened. Possessive, promising retribution. Time's up, sweetheart. Now we play my game. Her blood turned to ice, veins freezing mid-flow. The ballroom spun, chandeliers blurring into accusations. Stolen. Exposed. Here of all places. Memory slammed into her like a rogue wave. 6 months earlier. Her shoebox apartment, fairy lights strung over peeling wallpaper. Jaden lounged on her thrift store couch, tablet in hand. Penny, these palettes are genius, he'd said, eyes gleaming. Let me tweak a few for the Lux Vista pitch. Your name stays on every slide. She glowed, foolishly, sketching more while he snapped photos for reference. 2 weeks later, the firm's deck hit inboxes. Her color stories, her typography grids, her hand-lettered taglines, rebranded under Wilson and Company. She'd marched into his glass office. That's mine. He'd leaned back, smirking. Prove it. No degree, no contract, no credibility. Who believe a broke assistant over me? She'd left shaking, sketches deleted from her cloud by accident. Now, Oscar's words yanked her back. The truth had surfaced in the lion's den. I don't tolerate theft, he said, quiet, lethal. Not in my business. Not in my presence. Penelope's pulse thundered. Please, no scene. I just need tonight. Oscar studied her, then dipped his chin. You'll survive. He won't. Jaden, sitting opportunity, strode to the podium. Gentlemen, our rebrand. The projector flared. Penelope's stolen sketches, bold and damning. Oscar lifted one finger. His voice, calm yet amplified, sliced the speakers, stopped the presentation. Silence crashed. 300 heads swiveled. Jaden froze, slide glowing behind him like guilt incarnate. Silence crashed. 300 heads swiveled. Jaden froze, slide glowing behind him like guilt incarnate. The projector clicked off. Oscar's assistant pocketed the remote. Security flanked Jaden before he could speak. Penelope stood rooted, portfolio heavy in numb fingers. The room's roar dulled to a heartbeat in her ears. Hours later, she slipped through French doors onto the balcony. City lights shimmered below, rivers of gold and crimson. Cool air kissed her flushed cheeks. She gripped the rail, navy silk fluttering like surrender. Footsteps, measured, deliberate. Oscar emerged, jacket slung over one shoulder, sleeves rolled to reveal corded forearms. Chaos muted behind him. You didn't have to humiliate him, she whispered. I didn't. His voice was low, steady. He hung himself. Silence pooled, wind threading between them. Why help me? Oscar's gaze locked hers, unguarded. You asked, and I know the ache of building something others steal. Vulnerability cracked his steel, raw, fleeting. He stepped closer, heat cutting the night. Besides, you still owe 5 minutes of pretending. Penelope laughed, light, surprised, chains snapping. Freedom tasted like starlight. Morning light sliced through her apartment blinds, harsh and unforgiving. Penelope jolted awake. Navy gown pooled on the floor like shed skin. Her phone buzzed relentlessly, hundreds of notifications. Mystery woman stuns at gala beside reclusive CEO. Her face, mid-twirl with Oscar, splashed across feeds. Hashtag Gala Cinderella trended. She scrolled, stunned. Jaden's firm. Headlines screamed asterisk plagiarism scandal. Wilson and Company. Implodes. Asterisk stock plummeted. Lara's profiles. Gone. Scrubbed clean. A call pierced the chaos. Unknown number. Penelope Morris? Evelyn Cross. Lux Vista. Interview today. 11 a.m. Don't be late. She arrived at the sleek tower, portfolio clutched like armor. The lobby screamed money, marble, glass. Her name already on the directory. Creative director candidate. Evelyn greeted her, sharp smile. Impressive work last night. The office door opened. Oscar strode in, suit impeccable, eyes warmer than the night before. Evelyn's my partner. I needed to see if you'd show. Penelope frowned. Testing me? Investing. He slid a contract across the glass table. Creative director. Penelope Morris, 6 figures. Benefits. Her designs leading the rebrand. She stared. Serious? Oscar's smile was faint, real. I don't pretend in business or with people I care about. Her fingers trembled on the pen. The girl who'd begged for 5 minutes now held a future. She signed. Asterisk Penelope Morris, creative director asterisk. The ink bold against the crisp contract. Evelyn clapped once, brisk and satisfied. Oscar's eyes held hers, a quiet promise in the steel. A week blurred past in a whirlwind of glass offices and color proofs. Her name glowed on a frosted door. Penelope Morris, creative director. The first paycheck hit her account, enough to clear the medical debts, the overdue rent, the max cards that had kept her up at night. She paid them all, then stood in the lobby staring at the zero balances, tears pricking. Her sketches, once stolen, now headlined Lux Vista's global campaign. Billboards in Times Square. Full-page spreads in Vogue. Her name in bold beneath every image. That evening, dusk painted the city rose gold. A sleek black town car idled outside her walk-up, same one from the gala, but now familiar. Oscar stepped out, navy suit tailored to perfection, tie loosened just enough to hint at the man beneath the empire. Dinner, he asked, voice low, calm elegance intact. Penelope leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, teasing. Are we pretending again? He smirked, the corner of his mouth lifting. Not this time. She slipped into the car, the leather cool against her bare legs. The partition rose. City lights streaked past as they glided toward the river. The restaurant perched on the 57th floor of a glass tower. Candlelight flickering in crystal, violins weaving through the air like silk. Their table overlooked the skyline, the Grand Mirador a glowing crown in the distance. Oscar pulled out her chair. She sat, smoothing the deep green dress she'd bought with her own money. No borrowing, no rips. He took the seat across, eyes never leaving her. A sommelier poured wine, something French, expensive, perfect. Penelope lifted her glass. To stolen sketches and second chances. He clinked his against hers. To the woman who walked into a lion's den and tamed it. They drank. The violinist shifted into a slow, aching melody. Penelope set her glass down, voice soft. You turned one desperate moment into an entire new life. Oscar shook his head, slow and deliberate. You did that yourself. I just made sure everyone saw it. She studied him. The sharp jaw, the faint scar at his temple, the way his fingers curled around the stem of his glass like he was still holding the world in check. You didn't have to. I wanted to. His gaze held hers, unflinching. From the second you grabbed my arm, like it was a lifeline. Heat crept up her neck. I thought you'd have me arrested. I considered it. A grin flashed. Then I saw your eyes. Fear, yes, but fire underneath. I recognized it. The waiter brought appetizers, seared scallops, microgreens arranged like art. She picked up her fork, then set it down. You said you know what it's like, to have something stolen. Oscar's expression shifted, the mask slipping. My first company, hospitality tech. I built the algorithm in a dorm room. My roommate borrowed the code, sold it to a venture fund. I was 19, broke, black kid from the South Side with no safety net. He shrugged, but the motion was tight. They called it collaboration. I called it theft. Took me 5 years to buy it back. Penelope's chest ached. You never told anyone. Didn't need to. I just made sure no one else ever took what was mine again. His eyes flicked to her. Until you. She laughed soft. I didn't take anything. You took my attention. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. And my interest. And, apparently, my schedule for the last 7 days. The violin swelled. She felt it in her ribs. He reached across, fingers brushing hers. So, will you be my girlfriend, for real this time? Penelope smiled, eyes bright with unshed tears. You already know my answer. He turned her hand over, thumb tracing her palm. Say it anyway. Yes. The word left her like breath after a long dive. Yes, Oscar Graham. No pretending. He lifted her hand, pressed a kiss to her knuckles, slow, deliberate, reverent. The candlelight caught the moisture in his eyes, gone before she could name it. The waiter returned with entrees, filet mignon for him, truffle risotto for her. They ate in companionable quiet, the city humming below. She told him about her mother's chemo bills, the community college degree she'd earned at night, the way design had been her escape since childhood. He listened like every word was gold. Dessert arrived, chocolate souffle, 2 spoons. He fed her a bite, watching her lips close around the spoon with a hunger that had nothing to do with food. Later, in the car, the partition stayed up. He pulled her close, her head on his shoulder. Stay with me tonight, he murmured into her hair. She nodded against his chest. No pretending. His penthouse was all glass and steel, city lights spilling across marble floors. He didn't give her a tour, just led her to the bedroom, moonlight striping the bed. He undressed her slowly, reverently, fingers tracing the curve of her shoulder, the dip of her waist, the scar on her knee from a childhood fall. She unbuttoned his shirt, palms sliding over warm skin, the faint trail of hair leading down. They didn't rush. Every touch was a conversation. Asterisk, I see you. I want you. You're safe. Asterisk, when he entered her, It was with her name on his lips, her legs wrapped around his hips, the city watching through floor-to-ceiling windows. She came apart with a cry that echoed off glass, his arms anchoring her as he followed. After, tangled in sheets, she traced the scar at his temple. "How'd you get this?" "Bar fight. Age 16. Defending my mom's honor." He kissed her forehead. "Worth it." She smiled into his skin. "You're full of surprises, Mr. Graham." "You have no idea, Ms. Morris." Morning came soft, sunrise bleeding pink across the bed. She woke to the smell of coffee, Oscar in sweatpants, hair tousled, pouring 2 mugs. He handed her one, black, no sugar, just how she liked it. "Staying?" he asked. She sipped, considering. "I have a meeting at 9. I'll drive you." He leaned against the counter, watching her. Then dinner. Then tomorrow. Then the day after. She arched a brow. "Possessive much?" "Invested." He set his mug down, stepped close. "In you. In us." Her phone buzzed. "Evelyn. Asterisk campaign mock-ups look incredible. Board wants you in Paris next week. Asterisk." She showed him. He grinned. "First class. My jet." Penelope laughed, the sound full and free. "You're spoiling me. Get used to it." A month later, the campaign launched. Her face, asterisk their asterisk faces, graced the cover of Forbes, the designer and the CEO, a love story built on truth. Inside, photos from the gala, the balcony, the morning after. Her sketches, now iconic. His arm around her waist, protective, proud. She stood in the newsstand, magazine in hand, tears blurring the ink. A hand settled on her shoulder. Oscar behind her. "Told you," he murmured. "The world sees you now." She turned, kissed him right there on the sidewalk, traffic honking, cameras flashing. No pretending. No 5-minute clauses. Just them. Equals in heart, ambition, and the quiet, fierce love that had grown from one desperate grab in a glittering ballroom. The camera pans out. 2 silhouettes against the city sunrise, once divided by power and circumstance, now bound by truth and choice.